4 minutes to go. Are you excited about today's show?
Left. Which study club are you at?
Minutes. Mr. Speaker, are you fine? To the audience, drop your questions in good time.
To go. Sit tight. Prepare to be tubulized.
Hello and good evening. Doing this live stream from my bedroom. It's Tubules Live. Now, normally I start with introducing you to the speaker, telling you all about what Tubules is, and really giving you an insight into what we do, etc. Not today. Today I am your speaker. So I can get going. Just before I get going, one very, very important thing to do, which I believe I should, is tell you about today evening. What we will talk about and all that I will go over in a short while. But first, I just want to talk about the fact that this live stream can be seen by everybody, not a problem. CPD is only for premium members, but the knowledge I'm going to share today is applicable to every single one of you. That's what I wanted to do. And now so many people ask about the CPD, so I'm just going to see if I can get this up for you and show you where you can get it. To me, CPD is complete person development. It's about helping you develop and grow into something useful. You're on this page today, you're watching the Tubules Live video at the top, and you should be able to see the aims and objectives, etc. This is a different window, but it's the same thing you can see. And you'll see the live chat there. Just underneath there, if you're a premium member, you might see the verifiable CPD questions. You may not see them yet. At the end of the live stream, if you refresh the page, they will come up. You can then answer the questions. You can move on, click yes, type on reflections. The reflections are written down here. You then click on next. You type your goals or tick the goals you've created inside your IPDP. In this case, it would be leadership. You type the high-level outcome or ticket, and then the 6 questions, which are the feedback questions. Only when you've done all of this that you will be able to get CPD for it. So that's very, very important. My colleague Iftikhar is watching this. So if anybody has any questions, please type them in the box below. If you have any questions, he will answer them, including bits about CPD. Remember, this questionnaire is not yet visible. It'll be visible after this is over, and you'll see it here. You can then go to your IPDP. You can then click on the quick links, CPD certificates, and all your certificates will be there for you to print. It's very easy, it's very, very good, and very, very quick. For base members, you can't get CPD, but you're going to love this presentation. It's less about CPD. So below the window, you might see something else there. I'm not going to repeat this again because I think we want to get down to the crux of it. I hope you have a great evening. Are you energized? I want you all set up. I want you all listening really well. Have you got a pen in your hand and a paper or a notepad? Something, because you are going to take lots of notes. I want to hear from you what you'll be doing after. More importantly, I asked a bit earlier if you can hear my music, which you could. Can you hear me talking? I should have asked that first, actually. But if you can, just type yes below in the screen so I can make sure that you are hearing me okay. Welcome to everybody. I believe we have over 200 viewers here, which is more than most events get this time. So I suppose there's a lot of people who've had enough of dentistry. I'm going to just share my screen and then get going. By the way, if you're sitting down, do me one thing before you do that. Stand up, hands up, and just say, I feel great. Yeah, remember Barry Alton telling us that at the lockdown? If you did not watch Barry Alton, Amy Cuddy was who he was referring to. So let's go for this. Let's go ahead now. You should be able to see my screen. You should be able to see my introduction slide about the growth engine. What made me do this is important because I'm a periodontist. I have, been doing dentistry for many years, and out of somewhere I started Dentinal Tubules, a community with probably somewhere nothing big, but probably about 45,000 members, visited from 68 countries around the world. But I realized something massive through this, and that's what I want to share with you. When somebody said, "Have you had enough of dentistry?" and somebody said, "Drew, can you talk about mindset?" and I said, "Okay, I'll talk about mindset." Now here's the thing, right? You're drinking a glass of milk, and this glass falls down and shatters on the floor. Or a mug, okay, whatever, shatters on the floor. And they say, think positive. And the positive thinking, people think, glass is not broken. Glass is not broken. That's not positive. The glass has broken. Positive thinking is about thinking differently, looking at things differently, powering yourself differently, right? And that's where I'm going to take you today, deep into the realms of a really different thought process. That's why you need your pen and paper. That's why I need your attention here. I basically have had to condense about 1,000 slides into a few hundred, and I'm going to try and go through as much as I can. I look forward to your questions. I look forward to your comments. You can type them in the box below in the chat where you can see everyone hearing me and doing stuff. I'm glad you can hear me, Daniel, Brian, Sunil, Leila, Agathokis, Aggie, of course, it is Aggie. Good to hear from you, Aggie, as well. Where did this come from? You know what? If you've not heard my talk, go on YouTube and or I'll send you the link somewhere. If you can find that on YouTube, it's the one where I tubules nearly failed. It was 5 days from failure, dental tubules. We were close to shutting down. Hear that talk, and you'll realize the sweat, the challenge, because I'd put many years into this, and it brought about a really massively deep introspection of me and insight. And this is the product we have, a massive video library, one of the biggest in the world, right? We do study clubs, we do, so many courses. The product's the same. What we offer you is the same. And we have all these study clubs around the UK and India and South Africa, Kenya, around the world we have them. And it's the same product. And yet there was one group of people going, why are you so expensive at the price we are at? And one group of people going, why are you so cheap? It's the same thing. So it made me think about me. And as we were this close to going over the cliff edge, it made me think even deeper about a lot of aspects of me. We realized one thing: there are some people who just simply want to tick a box, do some CPD. They're pretty much, what I'd almost relate to sheep on an isolated farm. While on the other side, there are these people who are really enthusiastic, really energetic, really keen to learn, really keen to grow, really keen to develop themselves and be part of this positive community. What I call them is a bunch of tubules tigers, right? It's just phenomenally interesting way to put that. But that's what we found. And that's when I really went into searching. By the way, my friend Ashish Devi King came up with these analogies, so let him know. But we came up with this really, and we certainly thought, look at this. Some people say the difference between my dentistry and before and after tubules is night and day. These are the kind of people we worked in. So I went to study and understand these people's personalities. I started reading books on mindset, human behavior, etc., because my job is to inspire people. I think these were books I read last year. Through lockdown, I've probably been through another 6 books. I've done 4 online courses. I've been delivering things through tubules, and I have this energy and passion with which I try and deliver things. So that's what we went on. And that's where the growth engine thinking came from. Here's a question I want to ask you, right? I want to ask you first question. Are you inspired by the work you do in dentistry, or have you had enough? Which one is it? Write it down on your piece of paper, write it down in the comments below, wherever you want to do it. Just tell me, which one is it? Are you inspired, or are you just had enough? Or maybe in the middle, meh, it's just a job, right? Like I said, sheep in an isolated farm, then meh. But please feel free to write whatever. Be honest, because I really want to take you across the bridge. What you're going to find today as you listen to this, as you go to sleep tonight, is you will be assimilating a lot of this. So for the next hour and a half, just lock your attention onto this. Switch off any sound around you. Put your headphones on if you need to. And just really focus, because we're going to take you into a realm which dentistry doesn't take you into very easily. Tell me, how would you describe your feeling to work? Is it the one on the left side, where you're lost, you're maybe frustrated, unhappy, stressed, worried, angry? Which one is it? Or are you on the right side? You're focused, you're encouraged, you're inspired, you're literally in flow. And I use this word in flow with Jazz Gulati. If you don't know, Jazz, when he does all this, is amazing. Amazing to see, Brian. You are inspired after all these years. I love that. That's what we like to hear. Mariana, you're in a mixture. Let's get you to the right side even more, because I want to get you energized at some level. I want you to think of certain things. I created a scale like this, 1 to 7. Here's another way of looking at it. Penny Wild says, I'm done with dentistry. Okay, so Penny, on this scale, you might be on 1 or 2, disinterested, bored, or frustrated, 3 or 4. There's 2 levels of frustration where you can't be bothered, and the second one where you really want to know, but your environment's not letting you do it. You might be curious, you might be interested, you might be passionate. Now, I will be honest, when I started dental tubules, I had gone right down to number 1. I was this close to quitting dentistry, and I was in the middle of my master's doing my specialty training in perio. Dental tubules brought this to me, and I'm going to really start putting all this in place when I go through my journey, which is a bit further down the line. And if you ask most people to describe their job, They're either going to go on the left side, our right inspiration left now. They're going to be inspired, fulfilled, love it, can't wait to get to work. Or someone like me who works 24/7, doesn't see it as work. Or there are people who live for the weekend, TGI Friday. Oh, the Monday morning blues. Oh, week friggin' end. Can't wait for my next holiday. They work for their holiday. Can't wait for 5 p.m. to go home. And it's so intense to see that difference. And it's about understanding what creates these people who are inspired, fulfilled, they love what they do, irrespective of what's happening around them. This is where I started delving into and really trying to figure out what's going on, because I've been through that journey as well. But you think, forget work, right? You think about some other activity that inspires you. Anything, your hobby, something you love, spending time with kids, I don't know. What gets you started on that? Does anyone need to force you to start this activity, or do you naturally do it? I don't know. Some of you love playing golf. Does anyone need to wake you up at 6 in the morning to get on the golf course? Nah, you're there and you keep doing it. And the only time you stop is perhaps because you have to stop almost, or you're taking a break. For me, it's something like running as well. I just love it. I run and I run and I run. And it's really frustrating, as Alexandra says. I'm stressed, worried, exhausted, seeing so many patients, frustrated. Yes, I can imagine the environment's very challenging. Now, this is the question. I'm talking to you about this other activity that inspires you. Do you see work in the same way? Would you like to see work in the same way? You have to start this process differently. You know what? Let's go back. Let's go back. Let the winds take us back to that first day of dental school. That first day when we were seeing the patient for the first time. Let's assume, and I remember for me, it was an occlusal composite. Whatever it was for you, it could have been an oral surgery extraction, it could have been an amalgam, it could have been a partial denture impression, whatever it was. How did you feel on that first day when you went to do that? Because you were walking on clinic, part of you was excited, part of you was nervous. And then, by the way, this is just an illustration, but this was you. I remember giving my first local like that. I was successful, and it's like this jubilation, that sense of achievement was phenomenal. Go back to that. This is how you were. I think my patient would felt a lot more confident with me than this did. But that's funny, isn't it? How did you feel? Just put yourself back in that position. How did you feel? Part excited, part anxious, part uncertain, part looking forward to a journey. It was almost like lighting a matchstick. There was a little fire going off inside you. Wasn't that just phenomenal? Was your procedure, was your restoration, whatever you did, was it perfect? At that point, and what you see right now, knowing what you know, you'd go, no, it wasn't perfect. But at that point, you thought, I did a good job, because the first time you did that small cavity, and then you got your tutor to have a look, and he says, carry on. And you go a bit further into enamel, carry on. And you're cautiously going through it. And you were proud of what you achieved. You just felt like, wow, this was brilliant what I managed to do. It was interesting. Let's take you even further, because before I do that, you did this again and again and again and again. You'd done one, your confidence got a bit better. You then did it again, and you did it again, and you did it again, and you did it again. And you kept going on and on. But let's go even further back, before you even stepped into your clinic the first time. Let's go to the point where you entered dental school and started learning about all of this. By the way, this is my friend Mehul Patel. Mehul Patel runs our Prep Evolution courses, and I think this guy, when it comes to preps and restorative, is just phenomenal. His attention to detail is beyond none. What I want to show you is this. You were told that you will be learning, and I'm using the example of restorative dentistry, but you'll be learning restorative dentistry. Your eventual aim is composite restorations. You were given this kind of vision, this plan, this mission, whatever you call it. This was set in stone, and then you were made to work towards it. The first thing you were given was lots of knowledge, right? Knowledge on handpieces, knowledge on materials, knowledge on the anatomy and structure of teeth, knowledge of the caries, the cavities, the preps, whatever, all little things. And then you set that written exam and you're trying to visualize this and go, that's what a filling looks like, because that, I don't know, Edwina Kidd's caries book shows me that's what a composite looks like. And then when you had the knowledge, they put you on a phantom head or an extracted tooth or something like that, where you practice things. And you practiced and practiced, and somebody had a look and somebody said, okay, improve here, do this. And when they felt that you were competent enough, you were allowed to go into patients' mouths. Isn't it? That's what happened there. Do you resonate with this thinking, this thought process? Do you feel this is roughly what you went through? Give me a yes below. Or if not, give me what you went through, because I'd love to hear it. But you know what? Before you were even allowed to go into patients, before the knowledge, let's go even further back into time. This is a time machine. Let's go even further back to what made you choose dentistry. I'm really interested to hear this. What made you choose dentistry? I'll tell you what. I grew up in Kenya, but we have strong Indian culture as well there. And I wanted to be a musician. And I was told, go and do something brilliant, useful in life. Indian culture is about that. Those who understand it will know. If you're not an accountant, a pharmacist, a lawyer, a doctor, a dentist, you're a failure. It's almost that sort of an approach, really. But what made you choose dentistry? I loved my biology. I loved looking after people. I always have. And somebody said this will be brilliant because it includes biology, looking after people, includes all of this. But there may be a lot of different reasons. Someone might have told you it's a great career, or you may have been told you'll have financial stability, or you're told you can be your own boss here. That's a funny one, isn't it? Some of you will say no, really. Some of you may be told you will get to care for people, you will have status. What was it that made you choose dentistry? Nothing like that, says Stephen Maddock, by the way. Going back to the phantom head. 1995, there's a phantom head. The tutor did one, we did one, off to patients. That's right, Stephen. You still did one on a phantom head before you went to your patients, but there was a bit of a journey. What made you choose dentistry, Stephen? Were you inspired to choose dentistry? Were you motivated to choose dentistry? And some of you will now wonder, what's the difference? Inspiration, my friends, comes from within. The fire is in your belly. Motivation comes from outside. Something is motivating you, pushing you to walk away. Or to walk on, sorry. Which one was it? Inspiration or motivation? And I tell you why. Because when we come back to forward now in this stage where we are and what we love or what we struggle with, we went through a journey. We chose dentistry based on certain factors and decision. We were given this vision, a mission, a plan. We went through the knowledge, the skills, and we became dentists and we improved and improved. And that single restoration we did, we got the knowledge when we go into dentistry. We then did the skills in a model. Stephen Maddock, you did it once. And then you went on the patients, but you still had guidance. You had supervisors, mentors, whatever it was. And then you moved on and you did more and more of these occlusal composites. You carried on. If it's extractions, you did more and more of them. And I'd say at some point you had some kind of failure. It didn't stick. It didn't work. Someone had to step in. You did a pulp exposure, whatever it was. You felt like you'd failed and you went down. And then you were given some more knowledge and you were given to reflect. By the way, this wonderful word reflection turns up. And then you discussed with peers, your mentors, your student colleagues, everybody, and you went read more and you got to know more and you carried on with this cycle. And you carried on, and when you became a bit more confident or competent or mastery or whatever you want to call yourself on that, I normally say I'm competent, okay. You were in a safety zone. You can now do this naturally. You could walk into clinic and go, haha, doing an occlusal composite. I can do it with my eyes closed. Don't do that, but you know what I mean. And you did that. Now, Alexandra, you're asking, what if you don't like clinical work anymore? Please wait, I'm taking you through a journey, I'll tell you. But you did all of that. And then you had two choices. You either stay in that comfort zone, and this is what we do with most things in life. You stay in your comfort zone, or you challenge yourself further. If you enjoyed that restorative procedure, or if you realized I have to challenge myself further, you went on and did more. You decided, boom, I'm going to break that marginal ridge now. I'm going to be adventurous here. Come on, I'm going to do a big molar. And suddenly you realized that to do that big molar now, I need to now know about matrix bands. And I need to build my knowledge on marginal ridge and how I do the box and how I do the layering. And you go back to your skill on your model, and then you do it on your patient, and then you go along more and more, and then invariably you one day you build that marginal ridge so high, patient bites on it and it breaks, and you think, and you learn that more, and you do it more and more and more, and you reflect and you discuss with a peer, and you do the same cycle again. And from there you decide, right, I'm going to push myself further, because either you're inspired or you're motivated, and you do bigger structures, and you start doing even bigger fillings, and you move on to onlays, and then you think, whoa, I'm good at this now, I'll do multiple teeth, and your confidence grows as you keep pushing your barriers. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, by the way, these cases are provided by Nick and Sanjay Sethi at Aesthetics, so thank you guys. I'm a periodontist. I don't have the skills to do these kind of challenging bits, but going from there to there is not an overnight process. Going from there to there is a process of growth, and growth is developing and improving yourself. Yep. And then you may say, I'm going to grow further. I'm going to become, big cavities. Come on, give me that root canal. I'm going to do endo. And again, I say thank you to these guys at Contemporary Endo, John and Luca, amazing tutors. And John was a specialist trainee with me as well. But what I'm saying is, then you may think, I enjoy endo, and you start pushing your barriers on that. Or you think, actually, I'm not going to do endo. I'm going to refer it. But you start improving if you enjoy it, and you go through that same process of growth. Or like me, you go through perio, from simple probing to non-surgical to aesthetic surgeries to grafts. You slowly but surely improve the process. But here's the thing, from that point when you were put in dentistry, where somebody said, this is why you do it, you never kind of made the decision. You went in, you've just followed the flow. You've graduated, you've moved to another country. Some of you have moved to other cities. You found a practice. Oh, they say you should buy a practice. Some of you have bought it, some of you have carried on, and all of that. And Aggie says, talking about inspired and motivated reminds me of Wayne Dyer. Motivation is when you get hold of an idea and carry it through to its conclusion. Inspiration is when the idea gets hold of you and carries you where you intend to go, puts the fire in your belly. Absolutely, Aggie, absolutely. But here's what I want to tell you. Whichever direction you went in, I went through periodontics, you might have gone to general dentistry. This is just one line of growth, and it's your clinical line of growth. Some of you decided, oh, I'm going to buy a practice. You decided to create another line of growth as a business owner. Or some of you said, I'm going to get a new job because I hate the NHS, and you went into private. That's a line of growth you took. Some of you decided to become educators. That's another line of growth. Some of you decided to become, study club leaders or whatever. That's another line of growth. All of these lines of growth become a whole different skill set you need. But you've just followed it. You've just reacted to what needs doing, what needs going and going and going. And you've just carried on. And then some of you get married, and some of you have kids, and the family goes on, and you buy a practice, and you get into partnership, and so on and so forth. Ladies and gentlemen, growth is one thing that motivates human out of three things. There are two other things. And there's a reason why, as Alexandra said, what if you don't enjoy clinical work anymore? Because your growth needs fuel, and fulfilled, inspired growth needs fuel too. If you want sustained growth, you've got to ask yourself, what's your fuel? And this is the first question I'm going to answer today. What is your fuel? And what I'm doing today, while you're listening to me, is just laying the seed. You then have to just go and work through some exercises I'm going to put there. I hope you have your pen and paper ready. This will be recorded for you to view later as well, because inspiration comes from within. Motivation comes from outside. Now, this is very interesting. Amy Rudsnutsky and her team did a study, and they realized people go to work because of a job, just pays them money, that's it. They go to work because it's a career, and a career is where the motivation comes from outside. Could be the next paycheck, could be the next promotion. Dentistry has been set as a career. You graduate, your next step is this promotion, your next step is the DCT job, your next step is practice ownership, specialization. It's all a career. What do you do as a career? You try and knock people out to try and get to where you want, because you have to. That's the way careers are designed. But it's what it does. The motivation is external. Something outside of you is trying to drag you on. And then there's group of people who have the job because it's a calling, because the inspiration comes from inside. And your job is to go through that, because what's going to impact your mindset is this. If you have an external factor motivation, a job or a career rather than the calling, at some point that external validation will run out. Some people posting on Instagram and Facebook to get all the likes. What happens when those likes run out? You will always find external validation has limitations. It's been shown the impact of a pay rise and a bonus only lasts 3 to 6 months. I mean, there's a ceiling to a pay rise. What's going to happen beyond that? What will keep you excited, energized with whatever you do? The fact is, when you were told to choose dentistry, you were told it'll be brilliant. You'll get to look after patients. You'll have wonderful clinic. You'll have a great career. You know, some of us were told you'll have great finance, whatever it is. They build an ideal image in your mind. This is not just dentistry. We all have certain idealisms and fantasies and expectations in our mind. And stress, anger, discomfort, any of that becomes about when your expectations are not met. These become the problems that impact your mindset, because in essence, you're expecting something to happen, but it didn't happen. It might be that because you were told you look after patients, oh, I'll get a lot of time with my patients, so I'll be able to really talk to them and give them and change them, and suddenly you have 5 minutes to give OHI, right? This is the kind of thinking. Move away from building expectations and enjoy the journey. And I'll talk you through that as well. And then you start complaining and negativity, right? And the biggest challenge is so many people end up in and around this complaining community. Sit down and think how many times you actually listen to complaints, read complaints. There's a study by a group done on Facebook posts, right? So I know person one. Let's say I know Aggie, and Aggie knows Charlie, and Charlie knows Stephen, but I don't know Charlie and Stephen. You with me so far? If Stephen puts a negative post, it affects my mood for 3 days. And we all complain because biologically, complaining makes us feel better. It releases certain chemicals in our system. And the worst bit is we do more and more of it, and we move away from what we should be. And then challenges become problems in the way. These things are in my way. Something's not working, it's in my way because my expectations are not being met. And then your mindset, your emotional state, your actions, everything gets absolutely negative. And this is now a spiral you get into. And when you get into that spiral, oh, there's Scuba Joe. Does anybody do scuba diving? Have you ever heard of something called nitrogen narcosis, the martini effect? As you dive, you go deeper and deeper and deeper. And beyond a certain depth, by the way, you should be going deeper with the crowd anyway. But the fact is, you get so deep down that you start developing this nitrogen narcosis, almost a drunk feeling, and your decision making gets completely impacted. And you may want to breathe, and you think, if I take my mask off, I'll be all right. No, Some of the divers try to get deeper. That's what happens. You're so stuck in this negative mindset that you start going deeper and deeper and deeper instead of pulling yourself out. And that's what so many of us have done. We don't enjoy clinical dentistry. Instead of stepping back, we think I'll find the next job. You go deeper and deeper. And that's why I asked you, how do you describe your feeling to work? Where are you on this scale? Because do you know what happens? When you have in that negative mindset, pain, you start moving away from pain. Humans are driven either to run away from pain or move towards pleasure. The problem is when you run away from pain, you bounce back. Whether it's another job, you say, you know what, I'm not happy with my job, I'm going to find another job. And you kind of go, okay. And then the other job causes the same problem and the same problem. And I've been through the same thing. I've been through so many jobs. I think I could make a job list myself with the CV and put it on BDJ. You start thinking, do you know what? It must be something with me. I'll follow these people on social media, whatever was successful. They're doing something right. I'll copy them. Right. I'm going on to now ortho courses or whatever it is. Then you start going on courses and courses and courses, changing the skill set you're in. And you keep going on and on. Or you think I'll find another discipline. No, actually, I think I'll do endo. I enjoy endo. And you completely try and find a solution in the outside world to move away from your pain. And you're looking at something outside of you each and every time. You're changing your environment, your skills, your job role, whatever you're doing. But ladies and gentlemen, the new job, the new skill, the new idea, you're putting these jigsaw pieces, but do you know the puzzle that is you? How well do you know the puzzle that is you? Do you know the jigsaw pieces that make that puzzle? Because humans are motivated by growth and other things which I'm now going to go into. And this is what's going to answer a lot of the questions that you put there, Alexandra. What are the jigsaw puzzles that make you? Because you have got to know you. So far, I've said, as you've gone through dental school, as you've done this, it's things that have led you. When did you turn around to lead yourself? This is me and this is where I'm going to lead myself. When did you stop and say no? Anybody ever thought of that? You have to inspire yourself. Are you with me so far? Because, ladies and gentlemen, I made this slide in early January 2020, and the first line I put in there, before all of this stuff hit, the world is now at an ever-changing fast pace, and every second brings you more unpredictability than ever. And then guess what happened? Competition. The world is filled with the largest human population in history. There is more competition than ever. Remember, we are at an era where humans have never been so comfortable. So we're pushing our barriers. And automation is coming in. Automation is taking over so many tasks. And like it or not, moral and ethical different argument. We're seeing this in dentistry. A perfect example of Smile Direct, the veneer, where you can actually go into a random shop and get orthodontic treatment. But you put this mix in place. You're not going to be able to control this. Today it's the corona COVID-19 virus. Tomorrow it could be something else. Today it's you competing with two dentists around the road. Tomorrow it could be something else because automation has taken over. It's going to happen. And amidst all this chaos that's outside there, there is one constant. And that constant is you. You, the person who makes these jigsaw pieces fit, is constant. That doesn't change. Because if you don't understand that constant, you will keep trying to find solutions from the outside world. You will keep trying to run away from pain. And you will end up in that pain, that discomfort, that sort of position. So it's very important. And by the way, you're not alone in dentistry. The Gallup trials, if anybody's seen the Gallup studies, right? They look at people who are engaged with their work, people who are not engaged with work. And people are so actively disengaged, they're negative to work. And they've shown, even in 2013, nearly 87% of the world's working population is disengaged. Deloitte Insights, who say that to thrive in tomorrow's dynamic economy, you need people to be engaged and passionate. And they talk about leaders. Can you inspire your employees to change their mindset? But 13% only have the passion of the explorer. 87% of the world's workforce are disengaged. So you are not alone. And I did this very informal survey in dentistry across a few Facebook groups maybe about a year ago just to ask them. And I was interested to see that nearly 50 to 60% of dentistry is disengaged because motivation has continued to come from outside. And you need to get to know you if you want to light the fire inside you. We went over this, so I'm not going to repeat this. But sustained, happy, energized, inspired growth, the growth pathway you take, will only come when you're inspired. That engagement will only come when you're inspired. Now, it might be in dentistry, it might be not, but the important part is you've got to spend time getting this right. And the second thing that humans are motivated by is fulfillment. You could grow, you could grow your wealth, you could grow your happiness, whatever, but until you're not fulfilled, you will always feel incomplete. And that's one of the important things. Christina, very inspiring. I do really like my job and running around like a chicken without a head. I'm lucky to work with nice people. And you're a dental nurse, so the wage is not motivating, but we go forward. That's right, Christina. Christina, let me know down there. Why do you keep doing this? You love it. You enjoy it. I'd like to be interested and I'd like to know what keeps you going. There's a fuel inside you. Give me that bit. It's interesting to hear. Because you know what I said, you need to know yourself, because if you know who you are, you will have so much more clarity. You will be inspired, energized. You'll be focused on what you do and which direction you grow. You'll have that sustained growth. You'll view challenges differently. When a challenge comes, you'll perk up and go bring it on. Gratitude will become part of you. You'll find yourself in flow. There are so many advantages to that. And instead of running away from pain, which bounces back, you'll now be driven by moving towards pleasure. You'll be going in with something different. And Stephen says, fits in with experience. So how do we change the disengaged to become engaged so we can all get better? And that's where I'm going to move on to. Because I talked to you about Amy Radsnitsky. What you're saying, Stephen, is how do we move from career to calling? Right? Because you want people going that way. They may not get to calling everyone, but you're moving them that way. Giving them some kind of meaning, some kind of purpose, some kind of why, and how dentistry can help them towards it. In fact, there's a study showing that people are willing to accept 20K less if they feel their work has meaning and purpose. So it's not the money or the external factors, it's your internal inspiration. It's not about having that ideal image in your mind. It's about enjoying the journey. It's not about complaining. It's about finding how you can get gratefulness and positivity. And instead of challenges, you see them as feedback to where you want to go. And therefore, your mindset becomes one of flow. That sounded like a rhyme. Brilliant. And if you can move in that direction, it's going to change the way you see and do things. And your inspiration comes from within. I think I've made my point quite labored here, but you get what I'm saying. And there are 6 steps there. You need to know you first, your purpose, and then your goals and your value and your vision and your growth. And I'm going to try and go over these 6 steps in the next sort of half an hour to 45 minutes, because there's so much you can cover in these 6 steps, but I want to take it one by one. And knowing you is about knowing your values, your behaviors, your identity, your strengths, your weaknesses, all of these things. How many of you have taken time to sit down and really delve into what your top values are? Because values are things you hold important to you. And like it or not, consciously or subconsciously, you're always making your decisions based on your values. They are your principles that guide you, and they will mark your behavior and guide you and how you make decisions. So when you're not enjoying what you're doing, it's because it's not aligned to your values. And what's happening there is, without you thinking, subconsciously your body is saying, oh, this is not working right. The values are your aeroplane's sat nav. It's the reason of how you do things. You will know who you are when you know your values, what clearly inspires you, and what your true purpose holds. And that is so powerful, because your highest values, as I say, will determine your actions, what you do by definition, subconsciously, unconsciously, probably consciously, but every single action reflects your values. So when somebody tells me something, I say, okay, but I look at their actions, because they can tell you one thing, but their actions tell you what their value is. When I see my periodontal patients, they can tell me one thing, but their actions tell me how much they value their teeth. Is teeth an important value factor? And values are like fingerprints. Each one of us has different values. Iftikhar, who really works hard at Tubules, and I thank him all the time. He's our content manager, online support. His values reading. Kala, who's our operations lead, her values reading. My value is reading. We all love reading, but different things. He likes science. I like human behavior reading, personal development. Kala likes reading about, I don't know, biographies, I think. Am I right, Kala? But each value is like a fingerprint. And the values discovery is about finding your values, exploring the behaviors that come from those, and grouping them. Because if you find your top values, you'll suddenly start changing things from outside in to inside out. And nobody in dentistry through your whole career takes you through this process. And the De Martini's value determination that Charlie Hooper talks about is so brilliant. Yes, it's worth doing. Now, Charlie, I've done it through De Martini. I've done it through Tasha Urich's Insights. I've done it through Scott Jeffrey. I've done it a lot of things, and they each have bits and pieces. And De Martini's book, The Values Factor, is so powerful. And a lot of this stuff is from there. You start looking at your values, you start looking at about 8 domains and understanding what you do there and asking questions. You talk about your thinking. What are your most dominant thoughts when you're really in your own dreamland? What do you commonly visualize? What's your common internal dialogue? That internal voice that's inside you all the time? And if you're asking what voice, that one. You start feeling what gives you the most energy. When do you feel most energized? I asked you that question. What activity gets you out of bed, makes you jump? What makes you feel happy? Where do you spend most of your energy? If dentistry isn't the one, then there's something there that's not working with your values. What activities do you engage in? Where you get absorbed into? Where you're most organized in? Where you're most focused? Where do you spend the most time? I'm going over this a bit quicker. What's the personal space you fill your environment with? If you look in my environment, it's got books all the time. By the way, this is a book called Free to Focus by Michael Hyatt. But there's loads of books around me because I like reading. What's my professional space filled with? Dental stuff, computer stuff. Actually, if you look in my bag, there's more gadgets than even I can handle. Look at the media. What do you read the most? What do you watch the most? What subscriptions do you have? What do you study the most? And when I say what do you watch most, a lot of people have Netflix subscriptions. A lot of people watch telly, and you think, oh, but I don't watch the ads though, and you forward them. And I've just recently been reading about Subconscious. Really good book, Before You Know It. I don't know if you can see it on screen. I'll put these books on there as well. It tells you that a lot of stuff happens implicitly. You're not even conscious, and your body's taking all this in. So what you surround yourself with is so important, but it's your values. Your social and people. What communities or networks are you part of? There's something called neuroplasticity. Your brain changes in shape, chemical structure based on the people you are. I talked about the Facebook study. 3 layers of 3 degrees of separation can influence you. How many times do you go on Facebook and listen to people grumbling, oh, lifespan, and then you go, yeah, mine too. You're just reinforcing the negative stuff, and they're called engrams in your memory. Engrams are where your neurons or the highways get embedded in to a level where you reinforce this so much, you start doing it as habits. So you've got to rethink these things. What are the resources you spend your money on? Where do you spend your time, your energy? Talk about your journey. These are the things you go through, right? And you answer them and you say, what values does this represent? And I'll give you an example on the journey side, right? Because this is important. What you do is you think you're writing a book about your life, and you start at the high level, dividing your life into zones, right? Zone of growing up, zone of high school, whatever. Then you start looking at certain key moments you will remember through your life. And then you go into the specifics of those key moments. A really cool thing I found, which works well. This, Charlie, wasn't in the De Martini book. This was elsewhere. Here's my journey and some of the key moments. I can't give everything, but my step one was my sister. And I haven't put the video here, but my sister was born with something called muscular dystrophy. So she was always in a wheelchair. She couldn't walk or talk or anything. But she was, I mean, she could talk, sorry, she couldn't walk. Her muscles, skeletal muscles couldn't work. So she was pretty floppy. But despite that, with continuously inspiring her, continuously driving her, she became a lawyer, she became a psychologist, a motivational speaker, and almost an author. She passed away at the age of 30 about 6 years ago. But to me, that brought a massive, massive value of motivating, inspiring, pushing people. And even now, even without realizing, when people come talking to me, I find extreme joy in helping people and making them believe in themselves. I do it without realizing it. And it's only recently, when I've done my insight, I've thought, I keep doing this. I go to school, I was a bullied kid. And because I was bullied, one thing I realized is you don't know what somebody's going through. Don't destroy their bits. And I learned respect. And I'm very careful about what I end up saying. I'm very careful not to offend people, because you don't know what somebody's going through, but it became part of my value systems. My dad was an entrepreneur, and I certainly learned about values and finance. It's a big detail about money and the relationship, but I'm not going to go through that. My mum's hard work and patience. I came to university in the UK to study. And for those who've not heard my journey, I was paying about £20,000 in fees. And in my third year, I got a message from my dad: our family money's been wiped out. You've got to pack your bags and come home. And I thought, I can't do that, Dad. I will find a way. So in daytime, I was in dental school. My value of hard work and patience. And at nighttime, I've worked in burger bars, shoe shops, flyer drops, you name it. I've been through days without food, having some Maryland chocolate double chip chocolate cookies. But I got through university, and that built my value of resilience. But also, it built a vision that nobody in the world should go through what I went through. Education became my vision to the world. But when I graduated after all that, I had huge debt, 80,000 plus pounds, and basically they wouldn't let me work in the UK. And I said, no, I'm not going to go back home. So I had to think out of the box. And at that point, there was a Wales had a shortage of dentists in Scotland, the remote areas. So I went to the Welsh Dean and I said, you've got a problem of dentists. I've got a problem with job. And we were the first group of people who got to Welsh parliamentary approval to work in mid Wales. And he told me about resourcefulness and creativity. And then after all that, I then paid off my debts, was allowed to work in the UK, etc. And while I was in mid Wales, where I worked for 3 years in the middle of nowhere, I made a new life, I made new friends. I was still living off £10 a week, paying my debt off. Then I came to London. I did my restorative job in SHO and my oral surgery, and I got into perio specialist training. And within the first year, I nearly lost all inspiration in dentistry. I wanted to quit because of the fact that I was being taught by some of the best tutors in the world pretty much, but I'm such a disruptive person that they were struggling and I was struggling to understand the way they teach. I found it uninspiring, I found it boring, and I started tubules. And when I started tubules, it connected me to so many people around the world who brought back my passion, my energy, my inspiration in dentistry. And it taught me the importance of connection and the community I talk about. Tubules taught me leadership because I now have to lead a whole profession into this vision of positivity. Where we are now is so challenging. And the near failure in tubules, I think if these posted the video link down, watch it in your own time, taught me about insight, brought the value of self-knowledge to me, and so on and so forth. But your journey reveals you. All the other things I talked about also reveal you. And it brought some of my top values out for me. It brought my value that I'm inspiring, and I like inspiring myself and others. Growth, resilience, creativity, simplicity, etc. And the thing is, you can then group these values, prioritize them, and put them in what's personally going to serve you. Which values can you use to serve your community or your profession? And which values can you use to solve or serve a massive global purpose? And that value of growth and education is the reason we set up a charity called the Tubules Foundation, because we believe education goes to the world. But I was able to put all these values in place. Tell me, this is completely different for some of you, completely out, completely, unique, and some it's not. But tell me, do you know your values? Yes or no down there. That will all do. Because when you do your values, you understand your behaviors. My value is about inspiring myself and others, so I never give up. I show persistence. Apparently, I've been called a resilient dog by my financial advisor. I will give tools to others to never give up and have that. A positive, inspiring community. Tubules became an extension of me, and I will try to show leadership wherever I can. And that's what I behave as. And it creates my identity because of these values. My identity of what people say is an inspiring leader. Each value that you talk about, whether it's the value of inspiring or my value of growth, because I love growth and development, so I'm constantly learning. I am reading, watching YouTube videos. I don't know. I always do this. I share my knowledge to help others. I'm doing this today. I goal set. I meet inspiring colleagues. All of this, you can see my values are shaping my behavior. And make a table like this. What's my value? What's my behavior? What's my identity? Because your identity is what you feel threatened by. So many people go, I'm going to leave dentistry. And I think, why don't you? And one of the factors is that identity. They will feel lost. You don't understand how much identity is a strong part of us. Are you with me so far? I've not lost you, I hope. Keep this table onto one side, your values, because it's very important. And my computer's frozen. I'm hoping you're still there. My computer's frozen. I'm just going to stop the share for a moment. So far, are you enjoying and understanding and finding usefulness in what I'm saying? Please type yes below or no, whatever you prefer. I'm not quite sure why my slides are frozen. Maybe it's an overworked computer. It happens sometimes. Do you know what values drive you, even as I spoke across what I said? Do you know what is moving you forward, inspiring you? Brian Newman says, I know some of my values, not all of them, because dentistry has taken up most of your life. Brian, dentistry is one of your values. That's why it's taken up a lot of your life. What values does that dentistry represent? Because if you were not in alignment with your values, what you would have ended up doing is completely leaving dentistry or reducing or something. There is something in dentistry that served you or served your values. And this is what it does to all of us. We hate something, but we keep doing it because it is serving some inherent value within us. It's so, so important. You don't understand until you understand the values and you think, whoa, this is powerful stuff. Now I'm going to go back onto my slide, hopefully, and it'll come up. Right, let's go back again on there. I'm going to try this. This is a lot of work, experience, reading everything I've done. I'm going to just go through the slides like this because for some reason PowerPoint seems to have given up on me. But this is what I mean. The values create your behaviors and form your identity. These are my values and my identity. The impact I make on 7 areas of life for people. A bit more on that in a bit. Community person. Pamela, dentistry pays your bills. Just ask yourself, why do you need to pay the bills? Because of the family. Family may be your important value. I'm just guessing, but this sort of thing. Helping is important for me. Altruism becomes my identity. Resilience, never giving up. It's so bad now. My identity of never giving up is such, and when people put challenges to me, they expect me to solve them. It's interesting. But this is what happens here. Your values start determining your identity. That's the first thing. The second thing is identifying your strengths and weaknesses. And there are certain questions you can go through to identify your strengths and weaknesses. My strengths are communication, speaking, script writing. I can make spaghetti out of words, creativity and strategy. I used to play chess as a kid, talk about my journey. So I can now think like a chessboard. I think strategy very quickly. I understand people. I love psychology. I don't know why I never did it, but and vision. I can see something that sometimes people can't. It's one of these things. Identify your weaknesses. Again, lots of questions. I'm not going to go into detail with this, but my weakness is attention to detail. And that's why Ifti, Kala, Jemish, they're all correcting my English and grammar and everything. I call them the grammar police force. Sales and finance. Sales, I'll be honest, was a weakness and I've been building on it. But identify your patterns, your thoughts, your feelings, your reactions. We don't do this, we just do it. And you'll find themes appearing in what you do. But that's knowing you. You can identify your ideal environment, your fit. There's so many things. And Tasha Eurich has written a wonderful book about this called Insight. And then you move to your next step, your purpose. Because, ladies and gentlemen, when you know yourself as a jigsaw puzzle, you can now see what pieces will fit into it, right? And if you go to Google and type purpose, the reason for which something is done or created, there's a reason. A person's sense of resolve or determination. The reason creates determination because you have an intention or objective. There is an intention. And ladies, service. As humans, we are wired for survival and cooperation. That's how we are. We want to serve others. If you're not of service to others, you feel unfulfilled. You can have the topmost salary, prestige, position, you'll feel unfulfilled. It's the meaning you get from service, the meaning you give to service. And the service is your purpose. It's your why. It becomes a central theme around which you organize your resources, where you direct your goals, everything you do. And your purpose and your values are tied together because your purpose becomes your why and your values represent how you do that why. So your values can drive your purpose or your purpose can drive your values. But if you ask any of these questions, what matters most to you? What inspires you? Who do you rely on? What causes do you care about? What gets you out of bed in the morning? What's your legacy? Somewhere along there, you'll find your purpose. My journey, as I said, has delivered my purpose about education to the world and my purpose about inspiring people, using that education community to inspire people to love what they do every day. And so that they're inspired to grow, and they enable others to inspire and grow themselves, thereby collectively making a positive impact in the 7 areas of lives for everybody. That's my purpose. And I will show you the 7 areas in a minute. And I have a goal in that purpose that in 10 years I am to inspire 2 billion people in this pathway. That 87% of disengaged, I hope to reduce them. That's my purpose. It's an infinite goal. I may never reach it. But I'll tell you where this relates to dentistry. We're getting there. But your purpose is about who do I want to serve in my vocation, my profession. And when you say who, not just I want to serve patients. What kind of patients? What do you want to do? Who do I want to serve in my relationship? Who do I want to serve socially or community-wise? And when you say who, what do they need? How important is this need to the people I serve? Think about this. Dentistry and literally the world right now are losing motivation. What do they need? Personal development and energy. They need passion putting back into them. The purpose of what I do has got bigger than I thought. How will they change as a result of this? And what is the impact on them? And when you talk about impact, the people you serve, what is the impact on them in these 7 areas? Will it impact their profession? Will it impact their relationship? Will it impact them socially, mentally, physically, spiritually, financially? All of that. And look at dentistry. Done well, done correctly, we impact people at a powerful level every day. Do you agree on that? We change lives because people may not people say changing lives is about making someone who's dying alive. No, it's more than that. You bring them alive because the change you give them gives them enough confidence to walk out there and get a job, possibly. Their partner may like them. In the community, they suddenly build confidence. You are part of a bigger healthcare machine. There's a big impact there. You write down, if you got your paper and pen, what's the impact? What's your purpose? And if it's not dentistry, right, go back to here. Who do you want to serve? Who do you want to serve? And what do you need to be in order to serve them? Right? The people I wanted to impact was to inspire them. So I need to be an inspiring leader. And then to be an inspiring leader, what actions and behaviors do I need to do to achieve that level of serving? What's my purpose? Who do I need to be? And what's my behavior for that purpose? And ladies and gentlemen, the difference here is this purpose consistent with my values, my behavior, my identity? Remember you did the values table earlier? Just work out, does your purpose and values table match? And most people will. If it doesn't, you've got to either change your purpose or you change your values to bring your behaviors and your identity into alignment. Are you with me so far? I told you you will have to come back to this, write these, and work through this. I have an hour and a bit to go through all of this with you. But when your values and your purpose start getting your alignment, your why gets so strong, you will be ready to fire anything. And if the answer here, do these two match, is no, go back and rethink what you value or realign your purpose. Keep working on that. Take some time. Because do not move until the answer is yes. Because when it's yes, you've now put the fire into you, the fulfilling, powered growth to take you to where you need to go. You will get out of bed in the morning. You'll have high energy. I used to sleep 2 hours a night and people thought I was crazy. I could operate with that no problem. Now I sleep maybe 4 or 5. But that's the power this can bring. And then dentistry. Somebody asked, how does dentistry do this? Does my current job serve my values and my purpose? You'll have two answers here, either a yes or a no. If your current job serves your values and your purpose, you've hit jackpot. And I can tell you, my job as an entrepreneur, as the leader of Tubules, it serves my values massively. The answer is no, and that was my problem with periodontology those 11 years ago. I had 3 choices. I keep my job and rechange my values and my purpose. Very difficult to do, but you can. Or change my job to serve my purpose. And I started, thought about doing that. Or most importantly, what if I can't do, I change my values and purpose, very hard to do. Changing your job, very difficult, but keep your job and align your values and purpose to your job. One of the best things you can do. While you can't change your job, what are my values? My value is about motivating, inspiring people, about human behavior. And guess what? Periodontics is all about behavior change. It's very little about doing surgeries. Periodontics is gum gardening, you all say. It's more than that. But the key success of periodontics is about human behavior change, motivating them to look after their teeth. Suddenly, when I said my job doesn't serve my values, I went back to this and realized I can keep my job and find ways to align it to my values. And that's what I did. And I've continued doing that while also building Tubules. Just sit down and think, how are you going to keep your job and align it to your values and purpose till you find the next job? Because this job is building you. There's a reason this job is there. And inside you, it's building you for something. It might be reinforcing your values. And when you sit down, as I said, it's like a river, right? On a mountain, when the water first falls, it just falls down the mountain. And that water starts creating gullies and gullies and gullies. And then as more water and rain falls from the top of the mountain, it starts following those gullies. And they get carved in stone. And that's what happens to your human brain. The neurons you keep firing again and again. So the mindset you go to work is, I hate my job. You're firing that and you're already destroying your status. But if you go to work and go, today I'm going in, no matter what the challenge, because it is serving these values, you will change the way you see your work. Because it's no longer about the work, it's what it's doing to serve your values and your purpose. Does that help at any level for you? I have gone through this fairly quickly, but can you see how your job is going to serve your values? You've got to find this. And if you really want to create those gullies in your neurons, sit down and write 200 reasons why this job is serving your values, why this job is serving you. 200 reasons. And do not stop till you've written 200. And every time I've done this exercise with people who say, I don't enjoy dentistry, it suddenly starts building light bulbs in them. They suddenly realize the purpose dentistry is on their journey, even if it's not their end point, while others have found the end point in dentistry and doing something different. This is so powerful. And nobody teaches you this. You learn it by yourself. And only when your values and your purpose are clear to you will you start leading with the fulfilled, the inspired, the power growth that you work with. Because if you don't, you'll always be a follower. You'll always remain uninspired. You'll always want to quit your job. You'll need reminding to get your job done. You'll be frustrated at others at work. You'll get less done in a day. You'll need more holidays. You'll need more breaks. You'll be less creative. We know some staff people who are like that. We know colleagues who are like that. Or on the other side, you do and you become a leader. You become inspired that other people want to associate with you. You get more done in the day. You enjoy your work day. You're in flow. You're creative, different. And only when you know that, you set your goals. And your goals are not about you. Your goals are about, remember I said, who are those people? What do they need? What impact it'll have on them? It's about serving them. And how will you measure this impact? It may not be all 7 areas. It may be 6 areas. How will you measure that impact? And I measure that impact by seeing these patients every year and seeing that they're maintaining their behavior, that they've kept their teeth. I measure this impact by listening to stories from people who say how tubules changes their life. And what target, what time scales do you want to achieve? My target is 2 billion people in 10 years. I'm crazy. You don't need to be. But that's what you need. And the genie question's so cool because you can do this. Today, you went to sleep and the magic genie, Aladdin's genie and his lamp turned up, right? Answer this question to me if you want below. Aladdin's genie turned up and said, any wish, I'll make it come through. What do you want? I will take you 1 year ahead where you have everything you wished for. What will it be? What will it be that will solve everything that worries or stresses you? That represents your dream, what your values, your purpose, all of that comes there somewhere. Dig deep and think, because that is an amazing way to actually look at the impact and goals and purpose. And this is the bit where you start building your value. Because you're building value in others, your value builds. Now I'm talking value, not in values as your factors are important to you, monetary terms or other terms. Because when you say, how big is this issue I'm solving for people? Who else has this solution? And what's my value? Who else has the solution of solving people's dental problems? 40,000 dentists in the UK for a 60 million population. That's 0.667%, if my maths mentally is about right. You can correct me if it's not. You are part of 0.667% of the population. And you're solving a big problem. What's your value? You've got to sit and value yourself. And the big challenge we have is we have a system out there where somebody says, I'll pay you 60 quid for a filling. As a profession, we've devalued ourselves to a superb level. You are changing and impacting people's lives, all of this. Forget money, but all of these areas. Stop measuring success by finance only. Measure success, both others and yours, in these 7 areas. And look at the value you get out of this. What's your value when you do that? When you change somebody's life? Forget the complaining patients. That's probably 2 in 100. Forget that and focus on those patients who are very grateful. What's your value? And then set your own goals, because I can now say, where am I right now financially, in my relationship, social, physical, mental, spiritual? Am I worth my value? And if not, how do I get to impact others and solve a goal so I can reach my goals? And then you've got your vision. And when I told you get your pen and paper out, if you've been following this and thinking, this is what you write. My name is, what do I do? Because it has an impact on people in the following ways. And in 10 years, I hope to have created this impact. Don't ever say, when somebody asks you, what do you do? Don't say, I'm just a dentist or I'm a dentist. Say what impact it has on people's life. Next time you go to a party, what do? I build confidence in people with their smiles, because the impact on them is they get amazing jobs. Or really, they may ask you, are you a dentist? But you've now created not just emotion in them, but the passion in you. You're inspired, not motivated anymore. And if you're that inspired, I promise to God, if you're in the wrong job, you will start looking for the right job and it'll come in your way, because you now have a vision in you. Subconsciously, things will be appearing in your body system. I'm not going into subconscious now, but your goals will start getting achieved. All you need to do is get into the right goals, because if you get into the right goals, you will move in the right direction. Just think about that for a moment. My purpose. My name is Drew Shah. I inspire people to love what they do every day. I inspire people to grow so that they can enable others to be inspired and grow. So collectively, they all have a positive impact in the 7 areas of their life. And in 10 years, I aim to inspire and tubulize 2 billion people. That's my power. Think about that. Janet, as you say, you're finally close to running a practice based on slow dentistry. COVID-19 has accelerated that. We're loving. You got a challenge. You found a value from that challenge. And I love that you're doing that, because you're going to do what you should be doing with your purpose. And ladies and gentlemen, that's when you can invest in growth. When you know all of this, you can revisit your goals. What impact is it on this? And growth is about understanding this and knowing, if I want to achieve these goals for the impact on people, what do I need? The skills, the knowledge, the people, the tools, whatever. Skills and knowledge. What strengths do I have to achieve my purpose? Do I need to grow those strengths, or do I complement them? Now you're fitting the pieces of the jigsaw outside of you. That external motivation becomes internal inspiration. The ideal image in your mind is about the journey. Complaining becomes grateful. All the changes that happen. And this is the problem. The first 5 steps are about inspiring you. And yet, as you went through dental school, nobody took you through this journey. All they told you is your goal is to qualify, do fillings, and get a job, and blah, 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 and put you in a growth pathway. And then you think, what's my growth pathway? Oh, I've been told to buy a practice. You don't know what skills or strengths you have to run a practice and be a business leader. We are the only profession where we drill with teeth, and we are also the business leader. Ladies and gentlemen, you need all of these steps if you've had enough of dentistry, start thinking this way, because dentistry will become empowering and inspiring for you. And on the other side, you may find other things. Whatever happens, you will be leading a much more inspired, fulfilled, energized life. And then you have 3 areas to grow in: personal mastery, which I've been showing you bits of today, financial and vocational mastery. And that's when you can start achieving your goals, because you start acquiring all of these skills, but you start knowing what your growth plan is, right energy, how to measure things, how to overcome challenges, how to overcome fears, how you do decision making. What I've just shown you are the foundations for that. And he who has a why to live can bear almost anyhow. That's what Nietzsche said, and I agree, because your purpose and your values put your why so strong. Come what may, GDC, CQC, hell, send the CIA, FBI, MI5, anybody, we will achieve our purpose. Stop us if you can. That's the kind of energy you want, because then things change. I've told you about growth plan, what skills you need. a little bit about growth, because when you say, what strengths do I have that help me achieve my purpose? And you ask yourself, what weaknesses do I have? And with the weaknesses, do I find somebody to complement them, people or tools? Or do I move into a growth plan? So you identify your growth areas and then you make your growth plan. And if you're going to spend time growing in these areas, you need 5 items for growth. Most of you go on courses and that's all you do. If you're going to grow as a clinician in, I don't know, preps, if you're going to grow as a business person, you need to know where you're growing, which we've talked about massively today. You need to know your target. How do you know you'll ever achieve that? You need knowledge and skills. You need the right environment. And most of us in the UK are struggling with the environment. Change it. And if it means you've got to take ownership for it, if your purpose is that strong, grow it. When I grew tubules, I had to grow my own ecosystem. You don't understand how lethal that was. There were days when I did not have a penny to survive. If you think it's hard, if your purpose is strong, it's not a challenge in the way, it's a challenge on the way. And you need the right community, hugely powerful, the right network of people. Get off Facebook. And I'm going to say it again, get off Facebook, or spend less time on it if you're like me and still goes and does a bit, because that is actually negatively influencing you. And I'm going to say it again. Facebook, whatever, Insta, I don't know, but that's important. Any growth pathway you choose, the first step is inspiring yourself. The second thing is these 5 steps. Any growth pathway needs this. That's why the IPDP helps you in your direction on tubules. Online and offline lectures for your knowledge, courses for your skill, study groups, and all our WhatsApp groups are for your community, because tubules became your growth engine for that reason. And then here's an example, marketing. What's the purpose of marketing? How will I communicate my purpose and its impact to my potential customers? The growth plan name is marketing. Will I complement it? Then I need a new growth plan. How do I find a marketing agency? Or you say, if I strengthen it, what skills do I need? Communication, branding, what knowledge, skills, and community do I need to join? Because you will get through this quick then. This is important, because when you start doing that and making a growth plan, you measure things, you become focused, you have your values and your purpose. You go, you know what? I'm not doing everything else. This is what I'm focused on. And I'm not going to go through all of this, but there's things about challenges you can take on. All I will tell you is, instead of looking at a problem as a challenge in the way, it's just a challenge on the way to achieving your purpose. You see it differently. And as you move forward, I'm not going to tell you all of this, but as you move forward, you may challenge yourself further here where we started in restorative, or challenge somewhere else. But the best growth happens at that border of where you're in safety and pushing yourself a bit further. And whether you challenge yourself here or somewhere else doesn't matter. What inspires you is where you go and challenge yourself. You overcome fears. There are about 8 reasons why you're scared of something. Right? 8 reasons why you're scared of something. The fear of moral, the fear of not being smart, the fear of failure, losing money, losing loved ones, rejection, all not having the vitality or changing to adopt new habits, the fear of change. These are fears you can overcome. I don't have the time today to go through this. There's one bit about focus I want to tell you. The values, and living to your highest values and purpose allows you to focus. Forget the social idealisms of how you should be. Who are you and your authentic person? And when you know your values and your purpose, you will make decisions where you'll know how to say yes or no very quickly. You will spend your time doing these things. There are only 24 hours in a day. Do your high value items, pass the rest on. And what you do is just choose your 6 or 7 highest priority items for the day to focus on your goals and put all your energy into those. Get them done. Set the agenda for those 6 or 7 items. Delegate everything else or push everything else for a bit later. And you will see yourself accelerating quickly towards your purpose, your goals, your everything else. That's what you want to do. Pareto principle, 20% of your actions will result in 80% of your productivity. Think about that. I can talk about delegation, habits, gratefulness, complaining. I'm not going to do that. But what I will tell you is growth needs inspiration. Without inspiration, growth is unfulfilled and you'll hate your work. You will never feel happy because a positive, inspiring community is key to that growth. Make sure you surround yourself with the right people. Follow those steps. And my final note is this: believe in human potential and development. Use your workplace as an engine of inspiring growth for yourselves, your team, and the company as a whole, because it's a learning journey. We will never finish that journey. But when you end up like that, you will love what you do. And then you will never say, I've had enough of dentistry. Ladies and gentlemen, over the past 12 years, the relentlessness with which I've had to build tubules. At one point, I was one person doing the job of 38 people with 2 hours of sleep a night. That can finish most people off. It's probably finished me off as well, but I carried on. I want to ask you, what are your values? What are your purpose? And what are the 6 steps you will take to get onto your growth plan? My name is Drew Shah. I am a tubulite, and I hope that this has been a very positive, inspiring, energizing presentation that's given you some things, solutions, maybe not solutions, but practical implications that you can use to try and get back in love with dentistry or find what you love. Thank you. I will be happy to answer any questions you have. Pop them in the box below. I'll type them I will type and answer them, or I'm more than happy to say them out live. Thank you very much. That's me done. Any questions coming in? I will just have a look at the comments because I have been going through this all through. Mitul, what did I have for dinner? I tell you what, it's 9 o'clock. I'm just about to have dinner. I think I followed it most. Sajida, you've always loved and hated dentistry, as you say, but it makes sense. It's serving some sort of value that I hold close. That's an epiphany, actually. I can finally justify why I can't fully detach from it. Sajida, it is. I've always told you, it's serving a purpose. You should go and find it. There's something there keeping you going. Every challenge gets you going. It's a challenge on the way, not in the way. Now, those 20 areas I talked about, if you ever want another talk on those 20 areas, please feel free and I will expand more on it. How to build focus, how to build habits, and so on and so forth. Today was about putting that fuel inside you. Keep that fuel going, because that's what's going to get you through every trouble. My name's Drew Shah. I'm available to talk anywhere on this. Please invite me. And I will keep spreading the tubules mission. Have a great evening, everybody. Thank you for listening and spending your time listening to me.